Edgar Street, Hereford manager Peter Beadle. Success 3-0, but I think Lads Club really put some effort into that.
I thought they were superb. You can see why they've won their league. Danny's got them organised, working hard for one another, and they came to prove a point as they should do. It's a cup final, and I thought they were. They were as good and matched us certainly first half. I thought second half tied legs maybe a little bit, and we certainly dominated a bit more second half. But they got nothing to be embarrassed of. They were superb today. And
you had to make some changes. You were talking about down on numbers, just 3 substitutes today.
Yeah, I've never known a season like it, to be fair, especially coming towards the end of the season. A little bit disappointed with 1 or 2 players who have texted this morning, and a few things that have happened this week and the way it's gone down a little bit. But it's hard to criticise them too much because they've done ever so well this year. But we did leave us short today with 1 or 2 dropping out. And really what we had was all we had that was available, really. So we went with that, and I thought the young kids were superb. I thought they were excellent today, and for them to just step in and play a full 90 minutes in a cup final against men, bearing in mind that the 2 that started are only 17, I thought they did excellent today, and it gives us an opportunity to have a look at them and give them more experience for next season.
And you wanted to travel, you've got it.
Yeah, delighted with that. I mean, obviously, I think sometimes people can suffer second season syndrome. I think we've probably, for me, it's probably been a better year than last year. I think 3 defeats in 53, 54 games. I think says a lot about the players and the way they've gone about it this year. And like I said, as I've said numerous times before, this is not an easy place to play football. It's not, we're not an easy club to play for. They're not easy supporters because the expectation is so high. So to go that many games with only 3 defeats, I think is all credit to the players. And like I said, I think they've been phenomenal. I'm glad it's over for the season. It's because I think it's been a harder season, physically tougher, mentally tougher than last year. But like I said, but when you come away from it at the end of the season, you've had 53, 54 games, you've only lost 3. That's one season to look back on and say, what, the boys have been brilliant.
First goal, John Mills is obviously claiming it. You allowing him?
I think he said he was already over the line when the lad kicked it in. So if he was already behind the line, then it's Mills' goal. So I'm not gonna take it off him until I see the video.
What about a couple of controversial moments? So I've got to take you to that second penalty. Not going to give it. I'll go and talk correctly from the referee's point of view. I'll go and see what he has to say. Linesman obviously said penalty.
Linesman gave the penalty. Referee then went with his linesman and gave the penalty. Mike Simmons said it wasn't a penalty. Said the fella got the ball. Referee went back to the linesman, and that was the reason why we didn't get the penalty. Now, full credit to Mike, but I did say to him afterwards, how many other teams would have done that? How many, irrelevant of the score and the game, and obviously we were 3-0 up already and everything else, how many other people would have done that? And that beggars a question that I've always put to him, is that sometimes we're just too bloody nice. We're too nice. How many people would listen, all credit to him, because I think it's a fantastic thing to do, and it just shows what nice lads we do have playing for us. But at the end of the day, it's a football match. Referee gives a penalty, you take the penalty. If it's not a pen and you disagree with him, just take the penalty and put it in the net. Be ruthless.
Yeah, John Mills wasn't happy.
John Mills wasn't happy because obviously he got this first penalty, and obviously I'd already told him that maybe that first one wasn't his, so he's starting to panic. In fact, he was going to give Rory the penalty, the second one, and I said, no, you take it just to make sure, before I check the video. And then Mike stepped in and took it out. I don't think they've spoken yet, actually, the pair of them, since they've been in there. So listen, it's a fantastic gesture, it really is. But for me, it's too nice. Just be ruthless. They wouldn't have done it if it had been their shoe on the other foot. They wouldn't have done it. Neither would anybody else. They'd have nailed it home. We got to be as ruthless. But as we were 3 up and it's now 3 trophies this season, I'll let him off.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but Salisbury have been beaten by Tiverton, so it'll be Tiverton joining Hereford in the Southern League Premier.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a close game. It sounded like it was close. We were sort of updated with the scores as it went along. I think they scored just before half-time, Tivy, and then obviously got a second one early in the second half by the looks of it. So yeah, again, a contrast in styles and the way they play, and it was always going to be difficult because the teams like Tiverton and Taunton. Me and Steve went down and watched the Tiverton Taunton game in the playoff, the first game, and as a spectacle, it wasn't very much of a game. But what they do it very well, and they stick to it, and obviously maybe they've got the psychological edge as well, because I think they beat them twice in the season. Tiverton, so they've probably got that little bit of an edge, and maybe when that first goal went in just before half time, it probably knocked the stuffing out of them. But listen, fair play to them. I think that the final was ideal. Top two, obviously, that finished behind us, and like I said, delighted for Tiverton, disappointed for Salisbury, but I'm more interested in us and that we're there, and and everyone else that comes into it, they come into it.
And hard work for you starts now.
It started weeks ago. Flipping heck, the hard work, phone calls, and the emails we've received already, and and the games we've covered already. We're working extremely hard because we know we need to be better again next season. And when you've only lost 3 games in 50 odd, that's tough to do. So, but we know it's going to be a much bigger step. We've got a lot more travelling to do, which means obviously players have got to be even more focused and professional about how they prepare for games. And so like I said, the squad's healthy and it's good, and maybe we don't need that many changes, but we do need to bring 1 or 2 in, and we do need to change things a little bit.
When will the current crop of players get some sort of notice of what's happening?
Just said to them there that this week now, that's them done for the week, and I'll let them all know by the end of this week. We'll have meetings next Tuesday and Thursday, 9th and 11th of May. And we'll let them all know then. We'll let them know then. Ones that we would like to keep, ones that we think should move on, and it's time for them to move to try a different, to have a little different challenge. And like I said, so hopefully we'll have that all wrapped up by next Thursday.
Are you able to tell us if there'll be more contracts involved next year? Because obviously some have taken contracts or offered contracts, and some not.
Not necessarily, no. I think a lot of it comes down to the player and how valuable we feel he is to us, and I'm sure that the supporters, the 2,500 or 2,800 that come every week, they'll all have their own opinions, and But I'm the one that sat there in the job, and it's me to make the opinion that I feel is right for the club. And contracts aren't given out willy-nilly. I think some clubs get themselves in a little bit of trouble when they give out so many contracts, because them contracts have to be honoured no matter what. So if you get half a dozen players that are injured and they're all on contract, you've got to pay them in full every single week. So obviously, we need to be careful how we manage that. And
it's about the balance, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like I said, and we need to, like I said, and it's, for me, I feel that like in the first in the Midland League, we started getting some interest around Pablo and John. So we decided the best thing to do was to put them on contract, because we didn't want to lose them. This year we've had another couple that we felt were players that we needed to make us a little bit stronger. They wanted contracts, and the deal was never going to be done until they got one. So obviously, speaking to the board, they were good enough to go. But again, it all changes now. I said, we've moved up. For me, the next level up is probably where it starts to get really serious. I mean, not saying that this league hasn't been serious, but obviously you're now one step away from conference football, national, north or south. So I think a lot more teams in them leagues. You look at the teams in the conference north and teams in the conference south. There's some big teams in there. So I think that obviously if you want to prepare to get into that league, and you want to push to get into that league, you need to make sure you're doing things right yourself. So I think now we've got to a point where we'd be looking at maybe different types of players with 1 or 2 different characters and different characteristics, and maybe we're not going to be so reliant on those that we were reliant on before. So it doesn't mean to say we don't want them here. It just means that things might change. So that's probably the long way about going around it. But like I said, it all depends really on how valuable we see them players, and that we don't want to lose them, and whether those that we do want to try and bring in want contracts or not, and then it's up to us to evaluate it and then decide what we want to do. And
finally, supporters will already be looking ahead to friendlies. How well advanced are you with organising friendlies? Yeah, we've been really proactive on that front. We're nearly done. We've got them all penciled in. There's been quite a few confirmed. I think we're looking at 7 games, 1 more than last year. I think the opposition are so far a lot tougher this year than they were last year. So one or two earlier games will be, as usual, like a loosener. But then after that, the teams are decent games. So like I said, once they're all confirmed, I'm sure the club will put a statement out as where we'll be going to and who's coming here. But like I said, so far everything's been agreed verbally, and about 50%, 60% have been confirmed in writing. So we're just waiting now for the last couple. Great stuff. Thanks for your time. No problem.